What did your near-death experience teach you about the way to live a good life?
I think it teaches you that everybody walks through this life and thinks they have all this time in the world. We're chronic humans are chronic procrastinators, um, and I think frequently they push their goals and hopes and dreams off because they're afraid or they have doubts or I'll get to that tomorrow. They just I don't know, man. They get off course, and I think near death experiences make you realize the time on this earth is limited. You don't know when you're going to go, so why not? I call it living greatly. Why not go after every opportunity that's presented to you? I mean, obviously find the balance. You got to figure out and prioritize what is most important to you and your values. But people say, "Why, man? How have you done all the different things you've done?" And a lot of it is just, man, when I see an opportunity that I am passionate about or excited about, I figure out how to make it work. So, yeah, so that's the biggest thing. Clock's ticking, man, for all of us. Everybody thinks they have all this time, and we don't know when your day's coming.
Yeah, yeah. I often say that I was grateful to lose family at a young age because it made me realize the value of our time. I know when you were younger in your journey, you weren't the best leader that you wanted to be when you were younger. Do you think that those experiences kind of helped you reshape your identity of the way that you wanted to show up, the leader you wanted to be?
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes leadership I think sometimes people confuse the idea of leadership with only telling other people what to do. Like
Mhm.
I think they lose a lot of the nuances of leadership. I did as a young leader. I thought, hey, this position I have gives me power, if you will,
Mhm.
to get things done. And that, because of that position, if I say something, then you should go do it. And, that's positional leadership. And there's a lot of people that actually think that the title they have or the badge they wear or whatever it is makes them a leader. And it doesn't. I mean, the reality is that title doesn't make you a leader. It may give you some level of authority, but you start to get into uh, situations where people are going to follow you because they want to or because they have to, and you
Mhm.
can lead for a period of time people out of fear or this controlling mindset, but ultimately you're never going to build an elite team because ultimately those people are going to leave because you're leading them out of fear, and that gets tiresome over time. I don't care how great the reward is in the end. People want to be a part of something where they know, man, I have a good leader who believes in me. They're investing in me. They're giving me the guidance, and it's part of a great culture. And that comes down to the leader leading themselves and having conviction in their own beliefs and systems they put in place. So, yeah, man, when I was younger, I kind of got off course and actually thought that a title or rank meant something. And I came to learn later that that's not the case.
Yeah, like you said, it goes back to that self leadership because if you're not showing up as the leader that people want to follow, well, then how are you really being a leader, even if you have the title of I'm a leader kind of thing? When it comes to being a leader, you talked about it a little bit there of you have to lead yourself in order for people to want to follow you. What do you think plays the biggest role in really becoming a leader people want to follow?
I think people success and success is an interesting thing. I think there's two components. Success, if you're a successful person. Now, everybody's definition of success is different. So many people confuse it and they say, oh, well, it's sports success or it's financial success. At the end of the day, I think success is built upon your ability to identify goals, go after those goals, and accomplish those goals. And you're building blocks of success, and those building blocks lead to greater and greater and higher levels of success. And people are willing to follow that if they see someone who leads themselves, who is aspiring to be the best version of themselves. It doesn't mean they're going to be the greatest at anything, everything, because all of us have our strengths and weaknesses. But when people see that someone is just going all in to make themselves better, that they're constantly working and to move to what is the highest levels of ability you have, that you're just pushing towards that, that's inspiring, and that makes people want to follow you. A great leader once told me, people will follow you if you give them a reason to. And humans will follow success. They follow people who are willing to put in the work. I mean, we want to be a part of those individuals. So when I tell people about self leadership, it's about one, leading yourself in three key areas. So that's physically, personally, and professionally. Those are the three key areas. It's critical to lead yourself. So you got to take care of the machine that we walk around in. You know, it's the most fundamental thing. Recognize the relationships you have around you. Don't burn those, and don't take them for granted. And then obviously we got to put the time and effort into the professional side. I mean, that, you know, whether that's education, whether that's, you know, the job or profession or whatever, we've gone down that path. If you set goals in all those areas and people see you putting the time and effort into that, man, you're achieving levels of success. People say, wow, I want to follow that guy or gal because I love watching their passion to go after their hopes, goals, and dreams.
Yeah. When you enlisted, I think you tried when you were 16 and then 17, you really took a real try at it. But people didn't really see you as the kind of person that was able to enlist when you first got when you were first trying to get into everything that you do. How did you develop that leadership when you were younger? Was it a sense of trying to prove something to yourself or trying to prove something to others?
I think definitely I've always had, you know, it's an interesting thing in this life. Don't ever let anybody, two things. Don't ever let anybody treat you like a victim. And don't ever let anyone tell you because you don't fit into this demographic, you'll never do that. And
Hmm.
that's a real common thing in our society, both of those. We'll place people into the victim box because of, you know, race, creed, color, gender, traumatic event. I don't care what it is. You know, oh, well, you'll never achieve this because whatever these things are. Um, People have these preconceived notions in their mind of what people should be, what a leader should be, what an athlete should be, what a warrior should be. I did not fit that when I was a young man. I mean, I was a little runt. And and in people's minds, they correlate, you know, oh, big bad warrior Navy SEAL with 6'5", muscle bound Arnold Schwarzenegger type. And that
Hmm.
was not me, man. I was like 4'11" and probably 95 pounds when I walked into that recruiting office, and they laughed me out of there. And there was just something in me. There's been some drive within me that has always wanted to achieve my goals and dreams. And if someone tells me I can't do it, it only fuels my fire to accomplish it. Like if somebody tells me I can't do something, that's all the more reason why. If someone tells me no, it's all the more reason that I get driven to figure out how.
Hmm.
Because I just think that's such a self-limiting thing. I mean, it's an external limiting thing that people buy into. Oh, if I had bought what that recruiter had said when I walked in the office, and oh, you'll never be a Navy SEAL, you don't have what it takes, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to show you. Um, I don't know if I would have had the drive that I do to accomplish that. So never let anybody place you into a box. Um, you are the leader of your destiny. It's not a guarantee you'll make it, but man, you owe it to yourself to at least go after it and go all in. Don't half-ass it, but go all in and try and accomplish it. Because you're going to die someday. That's the reality. As a guy who lay there on the battlefield and looked back on life in that moment, I had regrets. I had things that I wanted to do. I had things I wish I probably hadn't done. Um, and it made me realize, like, hey, man, if I get a second chance, I'm just going after it. It doesn't matter. Um, as opposed to a lot of people who will get to the end of their life and they'll look back and go, man, what if I had gone after that? What if I hadn't listened to, you know, that person that told me I can't do this? What if when they had told me no, I had found a different way? So, yeah, that's really leading yourself. That's doing everything you can to, you know, there's a lot you can control for your own destiny. And so many people will take a no or a setback just as a sign that maybe I shouldn't do that. Or guess what? Maybe that's a sign that you should push a little harder and it'll help build you to be even better.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's difficult to um, let let other people's perception of us decide our decisions in our lives. Did it ever change for you from trying to prove something to other people to yourself, or like, is there something you're still trying to prove to yourself?
Yeah, always. I mean, I just won this gigantic speaking competition. I don't know. I think in life we should always be challenging ourselves.
Sure.
And I am now a professional speaker. One of the main things I'm doing, I want to take my story and motivate and inspire people. And I you know, over 700 events that I've done now, and frequently I'm told, man, one of the best speakers I've ever heard. And recently, a friend of mine, a business mentor, I was kind of venting to him that, I want to speak on, I'm speaking on a very high level tier in speaking, but I'm not quite at the top tier yet.
Hmm.
And I was kind of venting to him that, I'm trying to break into this next tier. And he said, well, maybe you're just not that good, and, maybe you're good, but maybe you're not that good. And I was like, huh. And right about that same time, somebody sent me this speaking competition called the Great American Speak Off that's run by Grant Cardone. It's kind of it's like the American Idol of speaking.
Mm.
And I looked into it and I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm gonna sign up for this. And she was like, why? I mean, why would you do that? And I said, well, why not? I mean, if I truly think that I got the chops, then let me see if I can enter this and win it. I mean, let's put your money where your mouth is, get
Hmm.
uncomfortable. And I went through that competition no different than anybody else. 26,000 people signed up. And I went through, I think three virtual tryouts and then semifinals in Miami and then finally the finals in Las Vegas. And I ended up winning it. I believed I had the ability to win it. If I hadn't won it, then that's okay. I'd already thought about that too. But I think there are a lot of people and even fellow speakers that were like, why would you do that? You're already speaking at a high level. Many of the people in that competition wanted to speak at the level that I'm speaking at,
Hmm.
but it's a challenge. Push yourself, challenge yourself, prove to yourself that you have the ability to do the next level things that you want to do. And that was just kind of a perfect example. I didn't need to do that. As a matter of fact, it added a lot of stress and time into my life in the middle of everything else I was doing. But I think that's what keeps us fresh and to continue to believe in yourself. You identify goals you want to go after, you navigate them and either you A accomplish them, which makes you feel, yeah, man, I'm there, or B, it gives you lessons on, okay, what can I do to get better so that I can fulfill this goal, hope, or dream later.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking, congratulations, by the way. That's awesome. Obviously well deserved. What do you feel is like the main message you want to, and obviously it's going to change depending on who you're speaking to, but what do you feel like the main core message is behind when you're speaking?
I try to take my story, and I think this is the key to any great speaker. Yeah, how do you take everybody has a story, and
Mm,
so obviously there are some people who have more extraordinary stories than others, but at the end of the day, as humans, we all go through struggles and trials and tribulations and successes, and how you navigate those things is unique to you. I mean, not 100% unique, obviously, with 8 billion people on this planet. There's a lot of people that are duplicating what you're doing, but
yeah.
um, if you are impacting, 10, 20, 10,000 people, they are learning from how you went through your journey. And if you can take your story and make it relatable to them, where there are lessons from your story and they put themselves into your story and they're able to pull out those lessons and apply them to their life, man, that's a powerful thing. And that's my goal when I speak. Even though I was a Navy SEAL, um, and not everybody's a Navy SEAL, I tell everybody, the things that I learned in the SEAL teams, the intangible lessons are the lessons that any human can incorporate. You don't have
Mhm.
to be a Navy SEAL or get shot in the face to be successful. But many of those, the self leadership, the resilience, the ability to change, the ability to be part of an elite team, those are all things any human can build. And those are the things that I talk about when I speak. How do you lead yourself? How do you deal with massive adversity? How do you build a mindset to be ready for when the world gets turned upside down? Um, how do you build a mindset of um, I think so many people are shocked when bad things happen to them, and I tell them like, "Hey, man, you should have a mindset that things aren't going to work out, that you may not
Hmm.
accomplish what you're going after, that the world can get ripped out from underneath you. Because why do you think you're so special that it'll never happen to you? I mean, that's just an unrealistic mindset. That would have been like me going into combat thinking I'm never going to get shot or blown up. I mean, that's just not the reality. I mean, unfortunately, in battle, it happens to people. And I thought about it and I recognized, but you can't allow the fear to stop you from getting out there and trying to be the best version of yourself. You know, you got to take the failures with the successes, but I'll be honest, you learn more from the failures, and taking that and sharing that with people has been a really powerful thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, your story is incredible. Like to know where you've been, to know where you what you're doing now, and all the things that are coming up for you. It really is exciting to hear about all the things that you're doing. And I think one thing that when I think of you, I think of rebuilding or changing your identity. Right, like you said, when you were enlisting, they saw you as this kind of person that just was not capable, and then you're years in, and then people see you, or you see yourself as this egotistical kind of person that doesn't show up as a leader that they want to. You get shot in the face, you get shot 8 times, 40 surgeries, all the things, and you've had to rebuild and almost change your identity in so many different ways. What have you learned about that?
I think it's never too late for anyone. You know, I frequently hear people that, oh, it's too late for me. I've messed up too much. Leadership is learned. I mean, don't get
Mhm.
me wrong. There are individuals who no doubt there are certain characteristics that make great leaders, but those things can be learned. I have flaws in my personality. Um, I can get super emotional. I can get angry and blow up on people, and I have to I call that emotional leadership when I talk about it in my book, Overcome. Um, and it's a weakness of mine, but I'm aware of it. I recognize it. When I was younger, it would happen a lot more. I would not be paying attention. You know, it's just about self-awareness. It's about identifying, hey, where do I want to get better? Where do I want to minimize my weaknesses? How do I maximize my strengths? And that was one of the things for me that as I've gotten older, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I mean, I still have, man, I was on a board meeting the other night, and I was kind of the minority pushing against something that the rest of the board felt strong about, and I felt very strong about it. And I didn't really agree with the direction we went, and I kind of blew up on them.
Mm,
In my opinion, it was a moment of emotional weakness. I want to maintain control of my leadership, and I apologize. You know, the next day I sent an email and I said, "Hey guys, I got a little worked up. I apologize for that." And I think that's a good trait of a leader also is humility. Like, hey, we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers. You are going to mess up. And I think the difference is you recognize it, you learn from it, and you move on. So I think those are all traits. And what I would tell anyone is don't accept that this is just the way I am. A lot of people, as a matter of fact, I think that's a weak excuse. Well, it's just the way I am. I'm just
mhm,
overweight and I'm just lazy or whatever it is. I've seen people that have been programmed to believe that. And some of that comes down to um, oftentimes even verbal abuse. Did they grow up in an environment where maybe their family was telling them that? Maybe they grew up
mhm,
in a school where people were constantly telling them that, and then they've accepted that as fact when it's not. Hey, your ability to get in shape, your ability to overcome this perceived laziness or, whatever it is, that's controlled by you. Change is merely choosing to do something different, but you have to do it for long enough to actually create impact. And that takes time and that's hard. You know, we have to get uncomfortable as we're going through that. But yeah, that can happen in leadership. You want to be a better leader? Well, choose to be a better leader. It starts with you. If you want to be a better leader, how do you lead yourself? Start setting goals. Pick those 3 areas. Do one thing physical, start moving your body, taking care of your body. Do one thing personal. How do you take care of yourself better, your finances, your relationship with friends and family, and professional? How do you level up, whether it's in education or whether it's in your work environment, whatever that is, man. If you do those 3 things every single day, I call that the rule of 3 Ps. Every day you do one thing, physical, personal, and professional. I'm telling you, after several months, people are going to notice. They're going to go, man, James, there's something about you, bro. I don't know what it is, but like, there's just been this shift, and I notice it in you, and just, I can't put my finger on it. Yeah, all it is you have become more driven, more structured, more organized. You got to be more positive as you're going through it.
Mhm.
People want to follow that.
So true. And I think too, like you said, one thing that I've been speaking so much on is that if telling someone else that I'm not like you is a way to let yourself off the hook for not showing up for the things that you tell yourself you want to show up for. I mean, it's living in the victim mindset, don't you think?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. I mean, when we make excuses, that is a victim mindset. And we are this nation, unfortunately, here in America, maybe abroad somewhat too, but definitely here in America, we are not only encouraging the victim mindset, we're almost celebrating the victim mindset. Like,
Yeah.
hey, because of your race, creed, color, gender, that's why you can't get ahead. So, we're just going to celebrate that. We're going to reward you for not being successful. We're only going to reward you because of some demographic about yourself. And that's bullshit. I mean, it's such a crazy mindset that we're celebrating. I mean, the reality is we should be highlighting the tens of millions of individuals across this country who have broken out of those exact same demographics. Individuals like me, a little runt, poor kid from, a broken family, and who chose, most unlikely person to become a Navy SEAL, and chose because I said I was going to do it. I was willing to put in the work. I was willing to get uncomfortable, and from there, I've used it to, create a lot of success. I was willing to tell my story and navigate all that. I've put myself out on stages. I've taken the money I've made in speaking and invested it in other businesses. Yeah, it is a lie to say because of where I've been born or because of this thing that happened to me, because of this terrible thing that happened to me, I'll never be successful. That's just a lie. Now, it's not a guarantee you'll be successful just because you start to make changes and drive forward, but I guarantee you will not be successful if you continue to sit there and feel sorry for yourself and just hide in that victim mindset.
Yeah, I think part of the I'm not like that or I'm not like you is a way of, like I said, letting yourself off the hook, but also if it's a way of finding certainty, because if you don't put yourself out there, then you know for sure nothing's going to happen. But if you put yourself out there, you're putting yourself in a position of vulnerability and recognizing that it may not work out like you said, but at least giving yourself that shot to know that, hey, if I actually give myself the shot, I have the chance. But not doing anything doesn't give me the chance. And I think that's why it's the certainty we're looking for, it seems.
People are so afraid to fail or to do something different that others may question them. If we're in our circle of friends and suddenly we say, I don't want to do what you guys are doing anymore. I want to go do something else, something that's going to make me better. Oftentimes, it's rare that those friends will be like, "Oh my God, James, man, kudos to you for wanting to go do something different." Oftentimes we'll ridicule each other and like, James, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to go put yourself out there and be better? Just hang with us, man. Let's just continue
Mhm.
to drink and party and do the, 9 to 5 status quo or whatever it is. And it really takes conviction and belief in yourself and the willingness to fail. Because the reality is, you could go out and do what you went after and you could fail. And now your friends will double down even more like, ah, you're so stupid. Look, you didn't make it.
Mhm.
But continue. You will learn. If you look at any highly successful person in this world, um, there were many failures along the way. Many. There was a lot of adversity, and they fell down, and they had to pick themselves back up. And maybe they had people that believed in them, but at the end of the day, they had to believe in themselves. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's hard. I have so many doubts. True story. When the speak off happened, when we got to the finals, literally the finals, and the coaches, Grant Cardone, his wife Elena. Um, Rob, man, I can't think of his name. He's a multi-billionaire, like worth 15 billion. And then Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank was the last judge.
Mm,
And they picked the top four, and then the crowd, 7,500 people in the MGM Grand, 150,000 people online, voted for us who they thought out of the top four was number one. Um, the crowd unanimously picked me. And Grant Cardone then got up and said, I don't agree. He said, I
mm,
don't think you had the best speech. He said, I think they're only picking you because you were a Navy SEAL. And it planted a lot of doubt in my mind in that moment. I was like, man, is he right? Like, am I not that good a speaker? Like,
mhm,
everyone, I don't care who it is. I guarantee Michael Jordan at one point questioned, am I really this good? And we all do it, man. We all question our capabilities. Like, we call it imposter syndrome.
mhm,
Have I just gotten to this point by luck? I mean, a mix of hard work and luck, and maybe I'm not as good as I really think I am. And Grant Cardone proceeded to say those things, and the crowd was booing, and the other judges, and he doubled down on it. He said, "Hey, man, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you were the best." And I got angry about it. And I told him, I said, "Well, listen, I didn't come here to win this competition because I was a Navy SEAL. I came here to win because I delivered a powerful speech that connected with the audience. That's speaking."
mhm,
And he said to me, "Well, tell them that." So they gave me the microphone back, and I asked the crowd. I said, "Hey, do you feel that I was the best because I connected with you, that you felt the power of my story?" And they would lost their mind. And Grant Cardone said, "Okay, I guess I was wrong." But in that moment, and even I will admit, for several weeks afterwards, I questioned myself. So
mhm.
self-doubt is a real thing. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have people who tell you, I don't believe in you. Why are you doing this? Whatever it is. But so what? If you fall down, get back up, and figure out the next way. I've always told my kids, and even my mindset is, no is merely a path to yes.
Mhm.
When someone says no, that is not the ultimate. That's one no does not mean the ride is over. One no just means, okay, well, I have to go a different way. I have to take a
Yeah.
different path. It's like a detour. You're driving down a road, and suddenly it's like, hey, this road's closed, you got to take this detour. Same thing. So yeah, if you have a hope, a goal, a dream, stop worrying so much about what others think and whether you'll fail or not. So what if you fail? you know Go back after it, try it again. Oftentimes when you go down newer paths, even if that's not the ultimate path for you, it opens doors and makes you realize, wow, I wanted to do this, but what I come to realize is this is an even better path that I'm going after. And that frequently happens.
100%. That's why setting goals for like 5 years in the future is so difficult to say because it's like, I don't know where I'm going to be in a few months from now. It's so difficult to think really long term because life is going to unfold exactly how it's going to unfold. And I think to double down on what you said there is a mindset that I've lived by for a long time. Same with like even getting you as a guest. I've been trying to get you as a guest for probably over a year now. And it was never like, am I going to get him as a guest? It's when I'm going to get him as a guest. And so I think same thing with your goals or whatever you're trying to create in your life. If you have the certainty and the trust that it's going to happen, you're going to take the actions that are in alignment with that belief. And I think for you as well, you growing up, you were bullied, grew up poor, and just grew up as this kind of person that probably wasn't so confident in themselves. And then really create that internal belief to show up for yourself and winning that speaking event. What do you feel has played the biggest role in you building your confidence in yourself and also like as an overlooked part of that? Because I think I understand that the aspect of showing up for yourself and doing the things you said you would do, but is there anything that you look back on now that you think, wow, I didn't really realize that played a big role in that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think everything you do in life teaches you lessons, and you're able to look back on those lessons. Um, I think confidence is a powerful thing. It's very easy for it to become arrogance.
Hmm.
And and I think maintaining that humility, one of the things that I recognize is for everything I've accomplished, it all can be gone tomorrow. And like you said, we set these goals. You talked about setting 5-year goals. Yeah, things can change. The world can change. So instead of setting it to a maybe a lifestyle or a specific, I like to tell people set a goal for what your life will look like 5 or 10 years from now. Um, because the way you get there may change.
Hmm.
But the ultimate end state should hopefully be the same. You want to have, maybe you want to have be married with kids and have a certain level of financial independence, and you want to own a home, and you want to, whatever it is. The
Hmm.
path to get there may be very different. May have starts and stops and things like that. And everything you've ever been through creates opportunities. I have built a pretty good network. I mean, it's one of the things, and I'll be honest, I wasn't super intentional about it when I was younger. So if I would tell you anything, it's be very focused on goal setting and build a network. And building a network isn't a hard thing. Be nice to people and go out and meet people and save their contacts. And every now and then reach out to them and just say, hey man, how are you doing? Or if you bump into them, it's amazing how you cannot accomplish things on your own in this life. It's very difficult.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, someone has come along and helped you. Throughout my career, it has been someone that has opened a door, that has picked me up, that has believed in me, maybe when I was struggling, or helped me open a new door for things that I was doing. So don't discount the things that you're going through as like, oh, this is a waste of my time. Everything builds on itself, and over your lifetime you'll look back. I ran a nonprofit for almost 10 years. It was a small that grew into a medium-sized nonprofit. We ended up phasing it down in 2018, and I learned a lot from that. Ended up deciding that running a nonprofit forever wasn't something I wanted to do. It's very challenging to run a nonprofit.
Hmm.
If you want to learn a lot about business, go work for a nonprofit for a while, because but I learned a lot from it. So I would just say that every experience you go through in life is an opportunity. It'll be a learning lesson. And as you get older, those learning lessons will come back. You will think about them. Or maybe it was just a connection. I can't tell you how often I run an insane schedule, and there are times where I get invited to go someplace, and man, it's the last thing I want to do. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to do this tonight. And I do it 90% of the time because um, one, it provides value to both myself and other people or whatever I'm going to. But 99% of the time, when I feel that way and I go to things like that, I always end up meeting someone new, or some new opportunity comes out of it. I'm like, man, that's why God brought me to this event. Like, even though I didn't want to, I made this one great connection, or it opened this door, or whatever it is. So the little things build up to become big things. And I think often people only look at the big things like, oh my God, nothing's happening in my life. I'm not getting closer to this big goal. Well, you look at a car, how many screws make a car?
Hmm.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of screws before it ever became a car. Life is like that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think definitely the incremental steps that we have to take every single day to create those big goals won't happen unless we're willing to take those small steps and acknowledge the humility that it takes to do it. Um, with your books, you're a best-selling author, The Try to Overcome, Mission Invincible Marriage. Like you've written a lot of books, and as well, I find with a lot of the authors that I speak to, the book that they get the most from isn't the one that they read, but it's the one that they write. You've written multiple. I'm curious, what book has taught you the most about yourself, and what was that lesson?
It's a great question. Um, all three books are a little different. The Trident is my story. And I'll tell you, that one might have been the most challenging. It was the most challenging to publish. I'll say it that way. It wasn't the most
Mm,
challenging to write, but it was the most challenging to publish. not because they didn't want to publish it, but because one, my agent did not like the Trident as it was. The Trident, really, for anybody that's never read that book, it's a story of failure and redemption, is really what that story is about. I was a young leader who got a little big for his britches and ended up making some bad decisions. I wasn't leading myself well, that ended up really hurting me. Um, and later went on to find greater success, injured and found greater success. And my agent was like, "Don't tell the story about Afghanistan and the mistakes that you made. No one cares about that. Just write more about combat." And I really was passionate about, I felt like it was such a strong part of my story. The other thing that I didn't want, I recognized that, hey, there were teammates, SEAL teammates of mine. If I put out a book and painted myself as, Hercules or Achilles,
Hmm.
they would have been like, "Bro, I remember when you totally screwed up in Afghanistan. You're a hypocrite to put this book out." So I was like, you know what? That's a powerful part of my story. And not only that, I knew that there were so many people out there in this world that had made mistakes, that had failed and were lost, like I was for a period of time, navigating how to overcome this major failure point in my life. But when we got closer, so I had to butt heads with my agent who didn't
Hmm.
want me to publish the book the way it was. I don't think he really liked it. So I don't think he was fully supportive of it when I doubled down and said, "This is the way this book is going to be." And then when we got close to publishing, I won't lie, I was afraid. Like, oh my God, what are people going to think about me? I'm writing this book about, my failures and the mistakes that I made. And, what are people going to think about me? And then I said, "Hey man, I've got to, this is your story. You learned a lot from it. I think there are other people who can learn something from it. Like, let's go publish it." So we did. And I got a lot of great feedback, man. So many people that read it. Frequently what I hear is, "Wow, that was not what I expected." That's the most common thing I hear out of people that read it. And they say, "Wow, it was much better than what I expected."
Hmm.
Because I think they thought they were going to read a book about this chest thumping warrior. And instead they read a book about a young man who got lost in his own ego and then had to grow up and redeem himself out of it. And guess what? That's anybody's story. That's not a Navy SEAL story. That's a human story. So that was the first one. Overcome became the how to. So many people who have read the Trident said, "Man, how did you do that? How did you deal with so much adversity and stay positive?" And that led to Overcome, which, I'll be honest, Overcome was much easier to write because um, so many of the lessons from the Trident I had written into speeches.
Hmm.
And then I actually ran a leadership program in our nonprofit called the Overcome Academy. So many of the principles of the curriculum in the Overcome Academy went into the book Overcome. But they are things that I use in my own life. I didn't make stuff up and then just to write a book. They are proven things that I use on a regular basis to live my life. And they may not work for everyone. I tell everybody out there, the things in the book are a toolbox, and sometimes you got to go to the toolbox because you need a hammer, and sometimes you go to the toolbox because you need a screwdriver. You use the tools you need in that moment, but no matter what, that's really how life is. We different tools for different occasions for different problems. So, and then Mission Invincible Marriage was an expansion on our relationship, my wife and I's marriage. That so many people were curious. They were just like, "How have you guys done it? You guys are such a strong example of a married couple in a time when the world is not leaning into that. Marriage is declining, divorces are rising. A lot of younger, I mean, man, just last night I was here with some of my business partners and a friend that had stopped by, and they were talking about, um, they were like, "The marriage you have is unusual. Only 10% of people will ever find that. 90% of the people I know that are married are unhappy." And we heard that a lot. Many people said to us, "Hey, not everybody has what you and Erica have." So we wanted to write it down. We didn't, our marriage wasn't magic. There wasn't, no one waved a magic wand and we had this perfect marriage. It was very intentional. There were many things that we did along the way and how we ran our marriage, how we communicated, how we dealt with problems, how we supported each other's goals and dreams, how we made sure we made time for each other, how we gave each other space if, one of us needed space because we were navigating through something, how we supported each other. All those things were very intentional. So that's what became that book. And it's great because, now I'm able to give something to my kids and other people who are like, I'm struggling. It's funny. A friend of mine read it and he's like, bro, he's like, I won't lie. He's like, I'm not doing anything you wrote in your book. Not saying that he wasn't going to, but he was saying he wasn't doing any of it. So you know what? If it helps you with a couple of tools, that's a great thing. But for me, they're all things that I learn. And often as you're writing and you learn about yourself and you peel back the onion and you write these things down, they give you tools to double down on. Sometimes, you're doing something to lead yourself to success, but maybe you're only doing it 50 or 60% of the time. And you haven't figured out yet, hey, this is a real thing that I do in my life. It's a tool I use, but you haven't wrapped your head around it into this tangible thing. When you take the time to write it down, to share it with someone else, now suddenly becomes a really tangible thing. You're like, wow, this works for me. I need to make sure I'm doing this all the time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was speaking with Tim Kennedy recently, and his book was also a amalgamation of all of his failures and not really his successes. And that's what people would assume that they would write about, similar to you. But I find that the failures are the things that set you up for your biggest successes. And so for you, like you said, you were the most unlikely person to become a SEAL. What was your favorite failure that allowed you to set yourself up to become the SEAL that you are, to win all the awards that you've won and do all the things that you do?
Failing as a leader, and um, that was rock bottom for me. A lot of people oftentimes say, man, your battlefield injuries must have been the hardest thing you ever went through. And don't get me wrong, I mean, to be wounded in the manner I was, and 4 years of 40 surgeries was really hard. But the reality is, rock bottom in my entire life, the hardest moment I've ever been through was to fail as a leader in the SEAL teams and have guys say, we don't want you here. Like
Mm,
we should kick you out. Not only we don't want to work with you. And as a officer, I had teammates who would have worked under me who said, we don't want you to lead us because we don't believe in you and we think you're dangerous and we think you're a bad leader.
yeah.
And that was the hardest thing. Imagine being part of this elite level team that you've worked so hard to be a part of, and suddenly everybody says, you you're a fraud, you're a fake, and we don't want you here, and we want to kick you off the team. I mean, that was really rock bottom. I mean, for a period of time, I thought about taking my life, is how bad it was, and how broken mentally I was. And I think it would have been really easy. And I thought about it, leaving the Navy and just starting a new life. I mean, that was for months. I thought about that. I almost in Ranger school. I continued to trip over myself and feel sorry for myself. I had the victim mindset as I went through that process in Ranger school. I showed up with a bad attitude and failed at one of the evolutions in Ranger school and weak emotional leadership, got into a verbal argument with the Ranger instructors and quit Ranger school. So now I like doubled down. Now I'm like, oh my God, I really am this horrible leader that everybody says. Like and I had resigned myself. I called my wife and said, I'm coming home. I guess I'm getting out of the Navy. Um, Thankfully, once again, I had an amazing leader who I happened to, by fate and God moment, in my opinion, he happened to be friends with the Ranger Colonel in charge of Ranger School. And he got him on the phone and he convinced me. This was a foundational lesson for me in that moment because I told him, sir, I've messed up too much. I can't come back. I'm too broken. The guys won't follow me. Like nobody wants me to come back. Um, and I don't think anybody will ever follow me again. And he said, Red, people will follow you if you give them a reason to. He said, that's all leadership is. He said, I don't care how bad you've messed up. People follow success. I have a friend Mel Chancey. People can look Mel up. Mel was the leader of the Hells Angels in the North Chicago. Very hard, violent man, and ended up going to prison for like 10 or 15 years. And got out of found Jesus in prison, became a Christian, and now he's this amazing leader that so many people follow, including me. Why? Because he changed his life and he's a successful guy that motivates and inspires others out there. So it's never too late. In that moment, I felt the same thing. And I finally kind of resigned myself to start to fix myself in Ranger School and start leading myself and believing that I had the ability to do it. But don't get me wrong, it was the hardest road I've ever walked, because there were many guys who still thought I was the old Jason Redman, the arrogant, impulsive leader who was not looking out for them or the mission. I was only looking out for myself. And so it took time to win guys over. Well, fast forward several years to when I was wounded, and it only took maybe 10 days to look back and go, you know what, man, this sucks. This is really hard, but you just climbed out of the deepest, darkest hole you've ever been in. Like, no one thought you could do it. You didn't think you could do it, but you did it. And guess what? It set you up for success to overcome this. Your failures and your hardest moments, if you're willing to navigate them and not quit, will set you up for future success. So every major negative life event I've ever been through, I'm able to look back on and it's made me better and stronger. So I tell people, major life ambushes, major crises suck, major failures suck. They are never fun. But if you're willing to navigate them, they will become a significantly larger foundation of future success than just little bricks of success along the way.
100%, man. Yeah, I love it. I love all that you're doing. I have one last question for you.
Send it.
It encapsulates what I want to do with this podcast. My question to you is, what belief are you currently unlearning?
What belief are you currently unlearning? James, you have great questions.
Thank you.
I think the hardest thing that I'm currently unlearning is I'm a genuine person. Um, I if I tell someone something, I mean it. I'm not someone who will say something um, and not 100% mean it. Um, and so it's hard for me when people, I'll find out later that they didn't believe what I said, or they
Mm,
thought I was going to do something different. Because I'm like, well, I told you what I'm going to do. What have I done in my past that would make you think that I would tell you this and then do something different? And I get it. We live in a world where humans operate off their own self-interest, and people frequently will say one thing and do something else.
mm.
And I've come to learn, and I would take that personal. I would take that very personal, like, man. And I've come to take a wrap off and try and say, hey, man, this is the world we live in. Even though you haven't given them a reason to not believe you, the world has given them a reason to not believe you. So don't take it personally. Recognize recognize that just it is the way it is, and sometimes you have to prove yourself and be persistent and continuing to show them that, hey, what I said is true. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. So, maybe you don't want to believe in it now, but I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm going to continue to go down the path and do what I said I was going to do. So that's been something recently, and probably the last 5 years I've seen more and more. I used to get super frustrated and personally aggrieved because someone didn't believe me or they didn't support me, and later I would find out, even though I told them one thing, they believed I was going to do something else, or they believed I had other motivations for what I was doing. So yeah, the world is broken, and people are unfortunately jaded. So sometimes it's going to take a lot more time to show someone through your actions, not your words.
Incredible way to end it. Where can we direct people? You got a lot going on.
Yeah, go to jasonredman.com. You can find me for everything there. I am a coach in a coaching group, Legacy Tribe. So we coach entrepreneurs and individuals to be the best version of themselves. Oftentimes people say, oh, well, I'm not an entrepreneur. Well, you know what? We live in a crazy world where many people have a primary job and then they start to create a secondary job. So we want to give you ideas and opportunities. There's three of us that are coaches that have different backgrounds. And if we show you how to lead yourself to success physically, personally, and professionally, it's going to help you grow. So that's one of the things I'm involved in. It's called the Legacy Tribe. Obviously, you got my books and you got my Overcome merchandise, and then the different companies that I'm involved in. So, yeah, we got big things coming to the veteran community. I can't totally announce it yet, but Veterans Day 2025, we're going to revolutionize the way we're taking care of veterans with some really high speed new technology coming on Veterans Day this year.
It's going to be a big day. Man, thank you so much for your time. Love what you're doing and grateful for your time.
Yeah, James, thank you for having me on, man. Yeah, and good luck with this podcast. Keep crushing it, man.